Maximum alert in Foxborough. The winds sweeping across Gillette Stadium today are carrying whispers, bold ambitions, and high-stakes decisions that could forever alter the destiny of the New England Patriots. This isn't just another offseason. This is a pivotal crossroads, a moment when the dreams of an entire fan base hang in the balance, waiting to ignite into something historic. All eyes are locked on our beloved team as they prepare to reclaim their place at the pinnacle of the NFL. But let's be clear, looming challenges still cast long shadows over our roster. Questions that demand answers. Moves that could define everything. In the last few hours, I've uncovered red-hot information straight from the heart of the organization, and I promise you, what I'm about to share will leave you more fired up than ever. Before we dive headfirst into these explosive updates, do me a favor, smash that like button. But only do it if you believe, deep down, that this Patriots squad is what it takes to rise again and hoist that Lombardi trophy high above their heads. I'll be honest with you, I believe it with every fiber of my being. If you feel that same unstoppable spirit, drop a comment below right now. Go Pats! We're going to the Super Bowl. Now, I need your undivided attention, because what comes next might just shake the entire season to its core. There's a lot of noise swirling around Foxborough right now, and if you haven't been paying attention, you might think it's just more of the same speculation that pops up every offseason. But make no mistake, this time it feels different, because when a well-known voice like Greg Bedard floats the idea that the Patriots could actually trade Stefon Diggs before he ever takes a single snap in New England, it doesn't just feel like clickbait. It feels like a grenade tossed right into the heart of Patriots Nation. Think about it. Diggs was brought here to be the definitive WR1, the proven alpha who could help Jerod Mayo settle in and finally give this offense a reason to hold its head up again. Before he tore his ACL last season, he was exactly that, an absolute dog who hauled in 47 catches for nearly 500 yards in only 8 games. Project that out over a full season, and you're looking at the kind of production Patriots fans haven't seen since Julian Edelman in 2019. And yet here we are, in early July, entertaining the possibility that the front office might yank the rug out from under this rebuild just as the pieces start to fit together. Betted's take, which dropped in the Boston Sports Journal, came while he was projecting the 53-man roster. He said, and let's be precise here, that Diggs, Mac Hollins, and Kyle Williams were his stone-cold locks to make the team, but then added that he wasn't guaranteeing Diggs would be on the roster when the season starts. He pegged it at 95%. 95. Why not 100? Bedard claimed that if a legit number 1 wide receiver becomes available, the team might decide to swap Diggs out. It sounds absurd on the surface, and frankly, Brett Alper over at Chat Sports called it exactly that, but once you start peeling back the layers, you can see how this scenario could take shape. First, let's not pretend everything started off perfectly. There was the infamous boat incident, the pink bag speculation, and the missed OTAs. But since then, every indication is that Diggs has bought into what Mike Vrabel is trying to build. He's been relentless in his rehab, posting workouts to Instagram every week. This isn't a guy phoning it in or counting his checks. He's determined to get back on the field by week 1 and avoid the PUP list. And given how thin this wide receiver room looks without him, that urgency makes sense. Because let's be blunt, the alternatives are bleak. Pop Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte. If that's your top 3, you're basically running it back with the group that was statistically one of the worst in football last year. Only 161 receptions combined. 10 touchdowns. Fewer than 1,800 yards. Patriots fans watch that horror show in real time, and you don't need to squint to see why Belichick, or whoever is pulling the strings, felt compelled to find an established veteran like Diggs. So the question becomes, is there really another WR1 worth trading him for? Bedard dropped a hint that if one suddenly shakes free, the Patriots might pounce. And of course, Terry McLaurin's name popped up almost immediately. McLaurin hasn't shown up to OTAs or minicamp. He's on an expiring contract. And yes, you could argue he's younger and healthier right now than Diggs. But at what cost? Jack Sperry, also from Chat Sports, actually proposed a trade package, Diggs, Boutte, and a 2026 second-round pick for McLaurin. Let that sink in. You'd be giving up your newly minted WR1, a young developmental wideout, and a premium draft asset just to get another WR1 you'd have to pay top dollar to extend. Alper's reaction was exactly what you'd expect. Hell no. And that's not just emotional fandom talking. It's basic common sense. If you're trying to build continuity for Jerod Mayo, if you're trying to stabilize this offense, why on earth would you torch whatever chemistry you're starting to build in training camp? Diggs is under contract on what amounts to a team-friendly, incentive-laden deal. There's no guaranteed money after this season. If he doesn't bounce back to form, you can move on cleanly. But if he does, You have a 1,000-yard receiver who gives Maye a real chance to develop without being forced to funnel the ball to backup caliber targets. It's also important to understand how the Diggs acquisition originally came about. New England was in on every possible wide receiver on the market this spring. They kicked the tires on Rashad Bateman before Baltimore extended him. They explored cheaper options, but when it became clear Diggs was available, they pounced, knowing that you don't often get to plug in a proven WR1 overnight. So why flip him for an even more expensive question mark? All the signals from inside the building suggest this is a non-starter. Vrabel and Josh McDaniels have consistently praised Diggs' work ethic and his buy-in. They've publicly shrugged off the boat drama as noise. And every social media clip, every rep, every drill shows a veteran who's hungry to prove he's still elite. That hunger matters. That urgency matters. Because this isn't just another season for the Patriots. This is the beginning of a new era, a chance to leave the dysfunction and mediocrity behind. Yet here we are, stuck in the endless churn of speculation. It's almost like some corners of the media don't know how to function without a Patriots crisis to feed on. Maybe that's why Bedard stopped at 95% instead of going all in. It keeps the conversation going, keeps the clicks rolling, keeps Patriots Nation in that perpetual state of tension we all know too well. But let's call this what it is, a distraction. A hypothetical scenario that only becomes reality if something truly shocking unfolds on the trade market. Until then, the smart money says Stefon Diggs will be out there in September, lined up wide, ready to torch defenses and give Drake Maye a security blanket worthy of the job. And if you're still wavering, if you're still unsure whether this is the right direction, take a look at last year's box scores. Ask yourself whether this team can afford to roll the dice on more improving options. Patriots fans, I want to hear your voices on this. If you were sitting in the GM's chair, would you even consider flipping Stefon Diggs for another WR1? Or do you agree that this rumor deserves nothing but a hard pass? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Type Y for yes if you'd make the move, and for no if you'd stand pat. This is your team. Your opinion matters. Let's hear what you think. Because here's the truth a lot of people outside New England will never understand. We've seen this story play out before. Over and over, the Patriots have been that franchise everyone loves to question, especially when it comes to their personnel moves. And sometimes, sure, the criticism was earned. But more often than not, the panic and the rumor mill were just background noise that didn't match reality inside the locker room. Remember when everyone said Randy Moss was washed? That he was too much of a headache to be worth the trouble? All he did was show up and make history with Tom Brady. Remember when Wes Welker was just a complimentary guy from Miami? He turned into the most prolific slot receiver in the league. And even last year, when people insisted the Patriots would tear everything down to the studs, what happened? Ownership refused to call it a rebuild, and they went out and added veterans to try to stay competitive. It's the same energy now with Stefon Diggs. From the moment he landed in Foxborough, there's been a fascination, an obsession, really, with whether he would implode or become the foundation of the offense. And look, nobody's ignoring the facts. Diggs is 32, coming off a major injury, and he doesn't have unlimited time left as a top-tier playmaker. But you can't argue with his track record. You can't deny he's the most polished receiver this team has rostered in half a decade. And